Hello, and welcome to my presentation on youth leadership. Start with youth leadership focused in Boston. The YW Boston works with a specific group of students in all local schools in Boston to work on eliminating racism and discrimination, as well as a separate group to work with specifically empowering women. It is an incredible program that promotes youth leaders of diversity in race, age, and focuses on those students in poverty or middle class. Their biggest impact that supports over 70% of people is having dialogues with the community, starting with the students, moving on to the community. YouthWorks encourages students to work their way up and supports them with options to become leaders in their community. They allowed over 1,000 students to be camp counselors to have a practice in a leadership role. They also help students get active in their community by working on landscape and human services. Their work is diverse and focused on supporting students that deserve the opportunities and may be in locations that do not always have that option. They are able to reach out and support students of all types. Social inclusion and youth leadership. Continuing on, this program does an incredible job at working on social inclusion and teaching their future youth leaders to be great at including and accepting of others. YW Boston has a specific program called In It, shown in the video above, where they gather groups of students from schools all around Boston that are willing to learn about the serious issues going on in their city and how they can stand up for what they believe in. It is one thing to lead or be a part of your community, but it is another thing to know how and have that personality that allows you to be able to engage with others. This program helps these technology-crazed children become more aware of the society before they are becoming involved. The diversity in Boston. Over the 10-year change shown to the right, Boston has become very minimally diverse, and much of it has moved further outside of the city. An issue known to the city of Boston compared to other diverse cities is many people are born here, staying here, and has less transplants than other cities. Along with that, many that are born here cannot afford it and are forced to move outside the city. Youth leadership and social mobility. It may not seem that these two correlate, or that if a youth is a leader, then social mobility should not be an issue for them. But in reality, in this economy, it is extremely difficult to move up out of social mobility because of the vast difference that money has become in the lower class versus the upper class. According to Richard Reeves and his studies, more than 1 of 3 people living in poverty will stay there, and only 1 in 10 of those living in poverty can move up to the top class in America in terms of financial stability. Policies and youth leadership. This is very common in many areas of getting youth to have a voice. We are great at teaching it, but when it comes to implementing their ideas, we fall short. In this case, we, quote unquote, is defined as teachers, parents, politicians, school boards, and anyone above a youth leader that really has a say. Technology and youth leadership programs. As times are evolving, technology is more accessible in our daily lives and used more for most of our tasks. But it is often taken away in schools that lack access and financial aid from outside supporters. Not far from Boston is a town called Milford, and there was an article written on them having more assistive technology for special education students supported by the youth leaders of those schools. Students realize the differences between technology and overall support in classrooms to the real world, and once they leave the classroom. That is why there has been a new certain category list set up to better leave these students for success. It varies from conflict resolution and gathering information to communicate to coworkers, to saying no, reaching online, dating, and even setting up a bank account. There are a variety of technologies around us in the world we don't even think about, such as ATMs, and everyone needs to learn how to use them. Youth leaders are encouraging more learnings of real life interactions, especially around technology, like doing taxes online in schools so they can have better success for their future. Way to go, Milford Public Schools. Motivation and behavior in youth leadership. Students need someone to look up to in order to succeed and create their own being. By having these symposiums created by Move Boston, it allows young women to see the leader inside themselves. Their upcoming guest is a teenage girl that created her own business at 8 years old with only $40. To have motivation and create the behavior to be a leader, you need leaders to look up to. This program here in Boston does an incredible job at giving people easy access to their symposiums and listen to leaders speak. Just as well, they have mentoring programs so young women can get connected with a successful female leader of any kind, and they have them to reach out for guidance and support because their own leader, to become their own leader and best self. The key is to know that there can be leaders of anything, not just of a business or the country, but in any job you can be a leader. It's about having the motivation and the right attitude going into it. Collaboration and conflict resolutions in youth leadership. The majority of this group is learning to collaborate with each other, discuss conflict, and resolve disagreements. Part of the YW Boston Leadership Program is setting them up into smaller groups to discuss change in their society, in their high schools, and in those groups altogether. They learn that leaving feelings and opinions inside will not get their voices heard. As they spend days together in a retreat setting, if they hold back feelings, they will not be able to create change in a larger setting. It is part of the role of being a leader and is quintessential to success. Many youth leaders have stepped up recently, such as above in the video, Naomi Wadler, giving a speech about how guns have affected her life in front of thousands and thousands of people on television. But as we as a country are uncomfortable by this because we are not used to such young minds speaking such wise and powerful words. Many politicians are not taking action on them and holding back because of simply what she used in the name of her speech, her age. But she is educated. They are educated. They too are affected, and they are being better mediators than adults. Youth leaders in this movement have demonstrated peaceful protests, speeches, and other nonviolent actions to get their voices heard. Overall, youth leaders in Boston have created an incredible change and continue to strive. With these incredible programs, I have no doubt youth leadership in Boston will continue to grow. Below are my references, and thank you so much for listening.